I want you to know that it gets easier. Hi, I'm Dr. Stephanie Fine, and it is Ounce of Prevention Live time. And we talk about losing weight and keeping it off forever around here. And today we're talking about some good news, which is it gets easier. Last week we talked about keeping on. Just don't stop, because if you keep going, you will succeed. Period, end of sentence. Because we're talking about a lifetime here, so you keep on going. The second part of that is today, which is it gets easier. To me, these are both such good news things, I can't even tell you. If you want to see last week's video, you can go to stephaniefinemd.com, check under the vlogs, and you will find it right there. And today, the it gets easier part. Okay, so here's what I mean. If you're making little tweaks and changing over time, like we talked about last time, perseverance over time, then those habits stick. And what happens is you build on them. So as time is going on and you're continuing to do the habits that are working for you for weight loss, then it gets easier. Literally, there are pathways, pathways in your brain that when they fire, they get stronger, and I think of them as getting deeper. They get like into a groove where they are automatic. When you can get automatic with your habits surrounding weight loss, that could be anything from going for walks, planning your food, making different choices at restaurants, one glass of wine instead of two, not having the bread plate, like all those things add up. Promise. That's such good news. And when you build on those habits, then over time, they all add up and it gets easier. The easier part not only is that now you're having habit upon habit, but the brain groove. So here's how I like to explain it. I had a client once who was asking me about this because, of course, when you're starting to lose weight, it feels like such a burden. The food choices and the out of control eating and all that stuff feels terrible. And what I told him is it's like having a boulder, like literally that you have to carry around this huge boulder sort of on your back. It's unwieldy, it's obvious, it's heavy, it's uncomfortable, and that can be issues with food. As you get control over it, as you find things that work for you, then the boulder starts to get smaller. And yes, you're still carrying it around, but it's not as big as it was before. And when you find things that work and you get people to help you, and the boulder gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it's like a little pebble that you just carry around in your pocket. So you still have it, but it goes from a huge boulder to a little pebble. And a little pebble is just something that we can handle. And by definition, we can handle it. It's a teeny little pebble and it fits in our pocket. So what I mean by that too is notice it doesn't go away. It doesn't vanish. So I do think that once we have decided to sort of cope with food, and especially if we've done it for decades, it's not that those pathways disappear completely, but the other pathways that you're working on for, months and years, the new pathways, those then become the preferred pathways. And the other ones sort of just stop being used. I think of that as a dry riverbed. Susan Peirce Thompson said this story, and I think it's a good one. It's like you can reroute the water, and the water will start going in a new direction if you do that. But the dry riverbed never goes away. It just doesn't have water in it. Meaning that if you had circumstances under which you started to eat food to cope again, that pathway is ready for you. But the more you use the diverted water, the new habits, those get deeper and deeper also. And so that's what I mean by the pebble. The pebble is like the dry riverbed. It's always sort of there, but it's such a non-issue when you have all these other habits that are so useful and easy for you to use. The last piece I'll tell you is the studies they do on maintenance. There's a register of the most people who have maintained the weight loss over time. And what they've seen is that it's between 2 and 5 years that once you've lost your weight and you've kept it off for 2 to 5 years, usually after that, you're good to go. Meaning, if you've kept it off for 5 years, you get to keep it off forever. And to me, that's such good news. It's such good news. All you need to do is keep it off for 5 years. Because remember, we have decades and decades and decades and decades. So you make it past 5 years, you are good to go. Those pathways are in there. The water is diverted. You are doing it. And I love that. That keeps me going and helps me so much with my clients and being able to show them that if you just keeping on, it gets easier. I'm sending you so much love, and I will talk to you next week. Mwah. Goodbye.